Alright guys, the Vancouver Canucks lose 2-1 to the St. Louis Blues in overtime after just a horrible break from Tyler Myers shooting the puck right on the boards, and the St. Louis Blues went on a 3-0 against Jacob Markstrom to win the game in on 3-on-3 overtime. Just a pretty bad break, and what can Markstrom do on a 3-0 against the St. Louis Blues? Not much you can do there. At least the Canucks did get one possible point tonight. Not the worst thing, we tied it up there at the very end, so at least we got 1 point, which now means in the past 13 games, the Canucks have gotten at least 1 point in 12 games out of the past 13. So even though we lost tonight, we're still putting up some points, which is still definitely really good to see. And the Canucks are now 9-3-3. So that still leaves us off at third in the West. And heading into this game, the Canucks were 7-1-2 in the past 10. And the Canucks actually won the last outing against the St. Louis Blues this season in a shootout. Quinn Hughes is back in the lineup after missing the game against the San Jose Sharks. And if you guys didn't hear about the update on Quinn Hughes, is the fact that he actually ended up bruising his knee. It wasn't his ankle like a lot of us thought it was, but he was kept out of the lineup against the Sharks because the Canucks management really wanted to make sure he was at 100%. We're so early on into the season, there's no point of really pushing his injury. So he was back in the game tonight and he looked good. Markstrom was back in net, and this was honestly a pretty big proving game for the Vancouver Canucks. Because heading into this game, a lot of people will say, the Canucks have just had a soft schedule. However, a part of the schedule, they did beat the St. Louis Blues, so it's not like they haven't beaten any top contending teams, and I guess this game they tied. The Canucks started this game off very well. The Sutter, Virtanen, and Levo line was displaying some very good offensive zone pressure, and they were controlling the play really well. And honestly, just this whole game, Jake Virtanen really stood out. This is one of those few games that Virtanen was quite possibly Vancouver's best player. Maybe besides Markstrom. Markstrom definitely had a good game, but I was definitely really noticing Virtanen in this game. His passing, his skating, everything, his shot creation. He wasn't, just wasting pucks and sending them on net, sending floaters on net. He was playing some really good hockey. Pettersson was shut down by Binnington on a breakaway attempt. He attempted to go 5-hole, and Binnington just shut the doors. Once again, the Canucks are dominating on the shot prevention department, not allowing the Blues to get a single shot within the first 8 minutes of the first period. And this has been a pretty common theme for the Canucks so far this season. JT Miller draws a penalty, and we get to see Quinn Hughes back on power play 1, so no more Edler. Finally, after we see kind of the contrast of Edler and Quinn Hughes, and then Quinn Hughes is gone, and then everyone truly realizes that Quinn Hughes is that number one guy. We finally get to see him back. However, they couldn't get anything going. They didn't even register a single shot. And the Blues penalty kill this whole game was super aggressive, and unless the Canucks set up that perfect opportunity, which they did get some really good opportunities, they just couldn't really handle the aggression. The first period, it's all a lot of back and forth action, some great chances from the 6:49 line. Pettersson with some great passes, JT Miller some great scoring opportunities. However, they just weren't able to bury anything. And on the second go-around on the power play, we saw much better cycling, much better zone entry. And once again, you can definitely see why we miss Quinn Hughes. Hughes' ability to walk the blue line and change the angle is just super, super impressive. And even on this power play, we saw him, rip a clapper when everyone was kind of expecting a pass to Besser. And you know what? This type of unpredictable play by Hughes is definitely just super crucial in today's game. Because once again, I've said it many times before, but with Alex Edler, you get a pass or you get a floater in that, where Quinn Hughes he brings a whole different dynamic to the game where, he can really just change the tempo really quickly, and you don't really know what to expect, which again, is much better than predictable floaters on net by Edler. The second period started with some great pressure from the Horvat line, and then interestingly enough, we see a double minor. Perron got a hooking penalty, and then Alex Edler got a chicken wing penalty. So pretty weird. I really feel like in the past year, we've really seen a big difference in 4-on-4 hockey ever since the introduction of 3-on-3. It's really changed into the same type of high pressure, high stake hockey. Obviously 4-on-4 has existed for a long time now, but I feel like just the whole change in pace with that 3-on-3 brought, it's kind of slowly fading into the 4-on-4 game, which is definitely exciting to watch. I love it. And especially when you have guys like Quinn Hughes with that great skating ability, it gives them a big advantage on the transition play, and we continue to see guys like Quinn Hughes or Connor McDavid just dominate on these types of opportunities. And then Tyler Bozak tucks a goal in 4 minutes into the second period from a really nice pass from Blake. And soon after this play, Josh Levo broke in on a partial breakaway from a super nice setup from Jake Virtanen. So once again, playmaker Jake Virtanen shows up today, and the Canucks go on their third power play after Levo took a slash on that break. But yet again, the Canucks were unsuccessful, and interestingly enough, I heard a stat in this game is that the Canucks are number one in terms of the number of power plays they've had heading into this game. They've had 61 power plays in the first 14 games, which actually calculates to be about 4.35 power plays per game, which is definitely very high. This may attribute to the fact that the Canucks have really been dominating the score sheet against some weaker teams, and so obviously when you're beating teams like 5-1, 7-1, or 8-1, the opposition tends to take more penalties, so that may have to do with why, I guess, with the fact that the amount of power plays we're getting is so inflated, but definitely pretty interesting. Now, if only we could be a bit more consistent with our offensive zone breaks and setup, and we just have so much opportunity to capitalize, and it's been a bit weird. We either see just dominance on the power play or just the inability to set up. Again, this period was really back and forth. We saw a lot of high-stake hockey. Jake Virtanen again really turned up the tempo of his game. He had some great looks, again, great passing, zone entry, and again, we're seeing some pretty consistent growth out of Virtanen, especially just this season, even from the start of the season until now. However, funny enough, I have been noticing with one single trait that kind of bothers me with Jake Virtanen is he seems really reluctant to really turn on the jets and burn defensemen. Jake Virtanen has all the speed to really go around any defenseman, but he always seems kind of hesitant to utilize his speed, and he, very often we see from Jake is he kind of goes in, he cuts to the right, tries to go around, doesn't really drive to the net. He kind of launches a floater on net. So, I'd like to see more skating, more utilizing his skating out of Jake, and we're definitely going to see better results from him. Edler takes a bad penalty. However, the Canucks continue to dominate on the penalty kill, and the Canucks have honestly just looked so good. Again, they have such a strong shutdown bottom six, and that bottom six can be really utilized on the penalty kill. It's definitely a great dynamic because the Canucks don't have to worry about using top six forwards like Bo Horvat or JT Miller to play in the penalty kill, and they're doing a great job. And heading into this game, the Canucks were number 3 in the NHL in terms of penalty kill, sitting at an 88.2%. Overall, though, the second period was alright. The Canucks had some decent scoring opportunities, but their high-pressure playing style this period really led to a lot of odd man breaks for the Blues. In fact, there was 2 rushes where they had a 2-on-1, which could have ended really badly for us, but I guess fortunately, they weren't able to connect on their passes. The third period started off really good for the Canucks, and I guess I forgot to mention is the Canucks, again, have had a firm lead on the shot department once again. 25 shots versus 16 nearing the start of the third period, so once again, those are some fantastic numbers. Edler takes his third penalty of the game, and as the penalty expires, Brandon Sutter with that great move, but Binnington makes a great save, and honestly, really good, I guess, just vision by Brandon Sutter. Brandon Sutter was kind of coming down off the penalty kill, and he realized that there was a forward filling in for a defenseman, so he kind of takes advantage of that, has a great chance, but once again, Binnington makes a great save. And after a bunch of intensive pressure from Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes launches a bomb for the point, finds its way through, and ties the game 1-1. So awesome second goal of the year for Quinn Hughes, and Quinn Hughes now has 11 points in his first 15 games this season as a Canuck. And Quinn Hughes is now second in terms of rookie scoring, only behind who else but Cale Makar. Cale Makar has 12 points, and Quinn Hughes has 11 points, or sorry, not 15 games, 14 games for Quinn Hughes. But that's definitely great to see. We really anticipated that this might be more of a defensive-dominated rookie class, and so far, it's been exactly that. And honestly, I was getting so pumped in the third period because we saw Elias Pettersson getting very angry, and that translated into Pettersson finishing checks, which is definitely not something we see very often. And when you see Elias Pettersson getting angry and finishing checks, something's bound to happen. Not to mention that the Quinn Hughes goal was the Vancouver Canucks' 32nd shot of the game, so Binnington had a very impressive performance, and once again the Canucks outshoot their opposition by a very impressive margin. Honestly, I feel as if the Canucks are having a lot of issues creating screens in front of Binnington this whole game, which is why we just couldn't get any squeakers in. Binnington has been far too sharp to let in those, floaters from the point. It's just not going to happen. So, by the time we finally get a good screen in, Quinn Hughes scores. Definitely not a coincidence. The St. Louis Blues had a really good opportunity to finish the game in the dying seconds of the third period. JT Miller with a really big hit on Ryan O'Reilly, but the Canucks hold on and bring the game to OT. So at least, again, the Canucks at least got one single point. But overall, this game was pretty shutdown oriented. I mean, each team had their chances, but both teams did a pretty good job boxing out the opposition and not really allowing those prime scoring opportunities. I'd say besides some lapses where the Canucks let the St. Louis Blues go on some odd man breaks. And OT once again brings some super excited hockey. 3-on-3 overtime again is, in my opinion, one of the best things the NHL has implemented in a very long time. Brock Besser with a great chance. Tyler Myers gets robbed on a 1T from a wobbling puck, and then on the final chance by Tyler Myers, Myers just launches the puck, misses the net by a large margin. The puck wraps around, he takes out his own player, and the St. Louis Blues go back on Markstrom on a 3-on-0, and of course on a 3-on-0 in overtime with just absolutely no defensive pressure. The St. Louis Blues win in overtime scoring on that 3-0 break, and they win 2-1. So, pretty interesting game. Honestly, I think it was a decent game from Vancouver. The St. Louis Blues, for the most part, have probably been the Canucks' best competitor this whole season. So far this year, I guess they're now 1-0-1 against the Blues, so definitely not a bad record. A pretty good game. You know, there's definitely some holes we need to fix in terms of screening, polishing the power play, but other than that, a decent game out of Vancouver, and at least we got one single point. Anyways, guys, what did you guys think about this game? And honestly, it was just a bad break. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later.